Hello and welcome to the morning after show. My name is Joshua Reimer. I'm joined by none other than Jared Block, who's over on my right. Jared, it's Wednesday, man. How you doing? Happy Hump Day.
Yeah, this is an interesting day of March 2nd because we had some interesting news break yesterday that we'll talk about here in a little bit. This is the third day in a row here that it's been like 45 degrees and the snow's melting. And like I said, it always kind of feels like that's the time when baseball comes back around. But we have, I guess we'll have a lot of college basketball to cover for a little bit.
I guess so, man. Yeah, we're going to talk about MLB right off the top of the show, but it's interesting. We were talking in the season pass chat, and a few members were talking in there about NBA, about the research they had already done, and I was like, man, I haven't seen y'all in a bit. And our AP Chris was like, yeah, it feels like winter's finally thawing, and I don't have a ton of work. And I was like, I guess that's the case for everyone right now. So we're getting out of those winter months. Starting to get into spring, and it's exciting, man. It's a good time. But what is not a good time is the news we got yesterday about the MLB. We got the news that they are going to cancel games. They weren't able to come to an agreement. The players went as far to as say that the MLB's proposal felt like a slap in the face. Um, it was a lot of back and forth between both sides, right? MLB was saying that the players union didn't have the same vibe as they gave off on Monday night, and were saying that they didn't seem willing to make a deal. And then the players union came out and said, hold on, that's not at all what happened. The MLB side of things are just trying to hype up their media team and trying to blame it on us. So it was back and
Yeah.
forth, back and forth. Overall, it came to the agreement that they're not going to get a deal done. Manfred canceled the first two series of the season. We're going to miss a week of baseball, but they're going back to New York to continue to negotiate. So hopefully we see some type of movement on this, but it's kind of up in the air, right?
Very up in the air. The players made their point yesterday on social media. Not that that means everything, but it is the first time that we've seen this type of thing be as public as it has
Yeah.
ever been. The last time it was 1995, and there was really no way to get news out. And if there was, it was probably going to be spun by the media in actual newspapers or on TV itself. So we get both sides of the story. It sounds like, from at least from some players, that there actually was never it was never really that close. As much as they tried to spin it the night before, I think that was all kind of a play on words.
Yeah, I agree that it was kind of a play on words. I think it was I don't know, it's he said she said, right? Like at the end of the day, they're just going back and forth. I just hope they come to a deal. We don't want to lose any more baseball. I wonder when, like, at what point do we get to where if we don't have a deal we start canceling more games is my question, I guess.
Has to be soon. I know both sides left the meeting site. That doesn't mean that meetings are done. It just means that no meetings are currently scheduled to happen again. But what they did was, or at least the Players Association had given players the ability to go and train and still have it be legal since they can't do it with their own teams in spring training. So those players, I know that there were 18 that signed up yesterday, with a lot more on the way this week. So we'll see how big that actually is, but we might get some interesting scrimmages.
Yeah, that would be interesting, man. Put a camera in there and let that be DFS for a week.
Mm-hmm.
Make teams, and that would be a lot of fun and certainly be very interesting. So it's going to be interesting to see what these players do, and it's going to be interesting what other news we get from these players and from everyone. The big thing is that, like, the MLB doesn't need to be locked out, right? They can come to an agreement on the CBA without a lockout. It's a reminder that the MLB voluntarily put the league into a lockout with the union that way so they could try to negotiate this deal. It's just bad optics for baseball right now, in all honesty. Like, it's not a good look.
Agreed. And yeah, it was sad getting all those email notifications about canceling the first
Yeah,
series of the year.
yeah,
So,
rough.
yeah. Anyway, I thought that we'd follow that up with the news that somehow the Mets are runner-ups to win the World Series of Futures, right behind the Dodgers, like literally right behind them.
What
So
is this? What's happening? Why?
the
What
Mets are plus 800 to win the World Series.
did I miss something that someone else did? Like, what?
I
Like,
don't know.
are they just expecting like a free agency frenzy as soon as they agree to the CBA and the Mets to pick up a bunch of guys? Like, I guess I'm confused on why the Mets are getting all this love. But hey, they're getting all this love. I'm sure our good friend OG Nick is pretty happy. Let's keep it moving. Let's go into NBA recap. Talk about everything that happened in the NBA last night after a tragic loss by the Lakers, where things actually stayed close. I was pleasantly surprised that we kept it close with the Mavericks. LBJ had a quote that said, "Until I'm 12 feet under, we still have a chance." So he seems pretty confident that the Lakers still have a chance and can still get the job done. They are now 7 games below 500 though, and now I don't know how many games out of eighth place, but it's definitely going to be a tough road to climb back from.
Yeah, it is. But at the same time, they still have a stronghold on making it being the team to make it through.
Yeah,
So I guess we'll see how that goes. But LeBron seemed fairly confident last night. He did say he felt like crap.
yeah.
Um, I think the word was poop that he used, but he sounded fairly confident that they still have a chance regardless. And by the way, we just got breaking news or a rumor from NBA Central saying that the Lakers and Westbrook are mutually interested in parting ways in the offseason.
Good. It sounds about right. Sounds like a good idea. At least in my eyes, it sounds like a good idea. Good idea. Should be interesting to see how that develops. But let's talk about everything else that happened in the NBA last night. We had the Raptors barely win against the Nets. Curry really carrying that team in the Nets throughout that fourth quarter, throughout the whole entire game, really. Even though there were some fantastic performances on the Raptors side as well. But this is a game that I think a lot of people expected to blow out, and I know myself included, I was kind of surprised to see the Nets keep it close.
Yeah, as far as betting news goes, I think we should stay away from the Nets on the road and only
Yeah,
focus on that home spread
I guess so.
situation. So I don't know. We'll see. But Curry was basically the reason that they even had a chance in the fourth quarter, and they almost pulled it off. He hit a shot last 5 seconds, and then they ended up losing the game anyway. But yeah, good. He continues to be an underrated pickup for that team.
Yeah, he definitely continues to be an underrated pickup, and I think in that trade, I think people just thought like, oh, Simmons for Harden, that's an easy win for the Sixers, but a lot of people forget how good Seth Curry is and how much
Yep.
value he brings to a team all around defensively as well. So something to keep an eye on. Let's talk about the next game that we are going to talk about, which features the number 2 team in the West in the Warriors and the number 6 team in the West in the Timberwolves. And we saw the Timberwolves pick up a really big W at home, ended up outscoring the Warriors 129 to 114. I mean, I don't know. This Warriors team doesn't feel like the real thing until they have everyone back, right?
That's right. I mean, Draymond's going to be like until he's back. I think they're going to be. They're probably just treading water. Probably the best way to use the term that I want to use. And who knows if they ever get Wiseman back this year? So
Yeah.
that's kind of makes you think of why they didn't do more at the deadline.
Yeah, it does, right? Like it feels like you could have traded away Wiseman, you could have gotten someone else, gotten a real person to help out Curry during this downtime without Draymond. But it doesn't seem like Draymond's coming back anytime soon either. So like I don't know. We'll see where this Warriors teams fall. How far down do you think they can fall down the standings? Because like I said, they're second right now. Grizzlies are a half a game back from them. Jazz are 3.5 games back from them, or sorry, 4 games back in total, and the Mavericks are 6 games back. So, how far do you see them tumbling down the standings if Draymond continues to be out due to his injury?
Well, they do have a very tough stretch of games right now. There's only a couple easier matchups that they have to finish off the year. So this next stretch of games, Mavericks, Lakers, Nuggets, Clippers, Nuggets again, Bucks, Celtics, Spurs. I mean, it's going to be a tough challenge for them. So, but I guess I don't think they fall past 4.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. They probably don't fall past 4. That's where the Jazz are. That's like the lowest of lows for them too. I think
Yeah, yeah.
the lowest they fall is 3, or the low they probably fall to 3. I think the Grizzlies end up taking their spot pretty soon, and I think they hold on to that spot as soon as Dylan Brooks gets healthy. So it'll be interesting to watch that race in the West because it is pretty close, at least between those 3 seedings in 2, 3, and 4. Let's continue to talk about last night. We saw, obviously, like we just said, Mavericks got a big win over the Lakers. And like I said, I was surprised that the Lakers kept it close because it looked like it was getting to that blowout territory after the first quarter. And, Lakers kind of stormed back. LeBron kept them in it. And I think I know it's not what probably the Lakers players don't feel this way, but as a fan, I'm at least a little bit encouraged that you were able to keep it close with one of the best teams in the West.
Yeah, a decent defensive team as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think that it was encouraging to see the game stay close. It was not the disaster that was the other day.
No.
Still, excuse me, a loss is a loss, but that's the way that they're always going to treat that. But at least this one felt like it. As long as, like LeBron said, like if he's there, they have a chance, or if they're playing, they have a chance. But I guess we'll see how it goes. Who do they have the rest of this week? I think they have the Clippers tomorrow.
They have the Clippers tomorrow. You're correct. I don't know who else they have though. I would have to look. Hold on. Give me 1 second. They have Clippers tomorrow. They have Warriors on Friday or on March 5th, like you said. Then they have Spurs, Rockets, Wizards, Suns, and they have they have a decently tough schedule throughout the rest of the year. So it should be interesting. I mean, you have two matchups with the Oh no, you don't have two matchups with the Mavs. You have a matchup with the Mavs, you have a matchup with the Warriors, the Timberwolves, the Raptors, the 76ers, the Jazz, the Cavs. You have a lot of tough teams here. So it should be interesting to see what they're able to do at the end, but hopefully they can stick in it. At least for my sake, so I don't go absolutely insane. Let's talk about some injuries that happened last night. Trae Young got injured and Jaylen Brown got injured, all within like the first half of that game, which is insane.
Yep.
I saw some like touting the fact that Jaylen Brown got injured and that he had the under on all of Jaylen Brown's totals. I was like, don't do
Oh
that,
yeah,
man. That is the worst thing to do possible.
that is gonna bite him so hard the next
I,
week.
we always say like whenever a player goes down and he's chalky, like you never want to root for injuries. It always hurts you in the long run. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting, but that's my only tidbit here. Do you know like timelines what it's looking like for both of them, or is it still to be decided?
No clue. I heard that the Jalen Brown one was worse.
Yeah, the Jaylen Brown one did look bad. It was really early in the game. The Trae Young one didn't. I'm kind of surprised that he didn't return, but we'll have to keep updated and see how both of those injuries go. Last thing here, but the Hornets ended up signing Isaiah Thomas. I mean, what do we think about this? Is it anything? Is it something at all? Like, what do we think about Isaiah Thomas joining the Hornets?
Not much. That's all
Yeah,
I have to say.
it feels like he joins a new team like every other week, man. Like he's on the Nuggets, he's on the Hornets, he's on the. I don't even know if he's been to the Cavs, but it feels like he's on the Cavs. Like Bacon says, why in the chat? Like I completely agree. It doesn't make any much sense to me. Anyway, let's get into NFL offseason talk. Let's talk about everything that's going on with the NFL offseason. We got news yesterday that Jimmy G is going to get surgery on that thumb that was bothering him throughout the playoffs. That'll take him out until summer. The Schefter said that they're still expecting to trade him within the month. So we should see a trade for Jimmy G in March. And like I said yesterday, there's a lot of teams that are looking for a quarterback on the trade block. So I think Jimmy G could be someone that's very coveted around the league.
Yep, agreed. Speaking of other quarterbacks, we got the news that the Bills say it's unrealistic for Trubisky to return as the QB2. So the best one of the I would say, honestly, one of the better backup options for the NFL right now is Trubisky. So maybe he finds his way to another team to compete for a starting position. We'll have to kind of see how that shapes out. He won't be one of the first to go, but he will be a key piece to keep an eye on where he returns, because honestly, he's always in play if somebody were to go down in front of him.
Traded to the
As far
Giants,
as
man.
yeah, I mean, give him something to compete for, right? Like
Yeah,
he would beat out what's his face,
Danny
Mike
Dimes.
Lennon.
Oh, Mike
He would
Glennon,
beat out
Danny
Mike
Dimes,
Lennon.
whoever. Yeah, I think he could beat out a few quarterbacks in this league. So I definitely could see him going somewhere and being a QB1. Because, like they said, it's unrealistic to believe he's still a QB2. Also, more quarterback news involving Aaron Rodgers. The Packers organization said that they have not received one phone call on Aaron Rodgers, and they haven't heard anything decision wise on what he's going to do either. So they know they want to get a decision pretty soon. But I'm curious, when do you think we hear a decision from him?
We'll hear it when like the momentum. Like if you're not plugged in, follow the Pat McAfee show. He comes on every single Tuesday, and he hasn't said anything about anything. But he said he promised that he would come in person to do it, and as AJ Hawk would come in person as well. I would feel like that would come to more of a head before we get more news out of this, but it will be this month.
Yeah, you would assume that it's probably before the new league year, right? Like it's before
Yeah.
they get into the official off season. I don't know when that date is though, so I'll have to look that up after we get off the show. But I know it's soon, it's sometime soon. So getting
Yep.
that new league year started will be interesting. Um, let's talk about something that absolutely shocked me because my buddy and I were talking about this last night, and I was kind of like, that makes no sense. But the Giants said that they are taking calls for trades involving Saquon Barkley. I mean, like, what? Like, does this make sense to you? Because it doesn't make sense to me.
Makes no sense for me either. That's their best player. I don't really know what the goal is here.
Yeah, like, ideally, you're trading him at his absolute floor. So, what do you
That
get
too.
out of him? Like,
That too. Yeah.
absolute floor here. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. I think Barkley bounces back next year. I think Barkley's still a top 10 running back. And, he was the top 5 running back when he was really, really good. So, I think he still has that ceiling. And I'm not willing to give up on him. There was certain sections of games where he played really really well. I just think they rushed him back.
They definitely did. They also had a inept offensive coordinator for the first 8 weeks of the year.
Yeah.
And then yeah, all that stuff happened. So my dynasty shares would be very thankful if Barkley had another great year.
Yeah, my dynasty shares would as well because I have him on a couple teams and I need him to do a lot better. So we'll see how that all pans out. Cliff Kingsbury agreed to a contract extension from what we have heard until you said 2027, right? Like
That's
it's a
right.
pretty long one.
Yep, 2027. They locked up the general manager and Cliff Kingsbury. So now it's whether or not they want to do the same for Kyler. From what I hear, it's the coaching and GM places had to be signed first before Kyler and his crew would sit down and figure things out.
Interesting. So, I mean, maybe that means bringing them on and bringing them on for an extended period of time means you can lock up Kyler pretty easily.
Yep.
Um, that's good news for the Cardinals, at least, and it should be interesting to see how Kyler does there. Last thing, college QBs are going to have on-field workouts this Thursday. Finally, get a look into the Pickett's of the world, the Malik Willises, all those guys, and I'm excited. I'm hoping we see some type of action from these guys, but like Jared and I have said a few times on this show, this is definitely not the QB class of last year.
No, it's not. We'll have more to talk about on this probably for Friday's show because we'll have seen some of the tape for these guys. But there's not much going around here. They are making their rounds around the league as far as interviewing with teams, but again, I think it's just all due diligence and things like that. Some are very interested, but I do think, like we said yesterday, that there are just a lot of really good quarterbacks. Now, I'm not gonna like. I don't know. We don't have enough time to talk about this, but give me Mitchell Trubisky or Marcus Mariota out of the guys coming into the classes here.
Give me Gardner Minshew over all the guys coming into the class. Yeah, I'll take it that far. Like that's how much I think that you're better off going with someone else compared to any of
Sure,
those guys. And I mean, Jimmy
absolutely.
G puts you in a better spot than everyone we just mentioned, in my
Give
opinion.
me
So
Carson above most of them.
yeah, 1000%, dude.
Yeah.
1000%. So I don't know. It should be interesting to watch this QB class really underperform. And I think the rest of the league and the rest of the fan base is really excited for these QBs because we did see some true superstar QBs come out of the last one, but it's not going to be the same. All right. Let's talk about March Madness night because a lot went on last night. This is the new daily segment where we're gonna be talking about college basketball every day. Because we have to. There's no there's no reason not to when you have all this going on, including your Badgers getting a huge win over Purdue last night. It was coming down to the last few minutes. You guys were super close all the way throughout, and Johnny Davis doing Johnny Davis things, right?
Yeah, that was a great game. If we weren't at home, I don't know how that would have turned out. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, a couple really big games for Wisconsin. We'll see what I mean. Like they're going to be the number one seed in the conference tournament next week, but I guess we'll see how that reflects in the actual March Madness seeding.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see how the whole March Madness aspect, at least seating wise, works out for the Badgers. Because I mean, what were they at this game? They were 10, right? And they
They were
beat the
number
eight seed.
10, Purdue's number 8. Yep.
So you
By
gotta
the way,
imagine they moved up to 8.
Jaden Ivey on his way to the NBA?
I don't know, man. I feel like it is close. He definitely is talented enough, right? Like at least in my opinion, he is.
Yeah, I would. We'll see how the tournament shakes him out because this Purdue team is very, very solid. I was actually like the line on this was Purdue -3
Hmm.
coming into the game. So I knew that it was going to be down to the wire and a really gross game on paper. And that's what exactly what it turned out to be. And a couple clutch shots late and again, like Ivy was the one making big shots the entire game. And if it weren't for the last couple heroic shots from, I believe Hepburn made the last one.
Hmm.
Yeah, I just if that game is on the road, I don't feel nearly as confident.
Yeah, neither do I. And you probably see that reflected in the spread. But getting a win this late in the season is big, and it'll be interesting to see where everything shakes out. I mean, your Badgers probably deserve a 2 seed at this point. Maybe it's the lowest 2 seed, but I feel
Sure.
like you're coming up on that point where you could see that be the potential that be potentially where you guys are at. Um
Yeah.
Other big game last night was what was the game? It was Providence versus Villanova, right? And we were kind of curious why Villanova was such a big favorite. It didn't end, they ended up winning, but they just barely won. Providence
Yep.
was storming back in the second half, ended up outscoring them in the second half 48-36. I mean, it was close. It was down to the wire with these two teams.
Yeah. Obviously, Nova's a tough place to play at home always, but people will sleep on Providence. I might pick them to be a. I don't know. Again, I don't know how the bracket's going to shape up, but if I find Providence in a nice spot, nice sneaky spot for a Sweet 16 run, maybe an Elite 8 run, I'll take that.
Yeah, I could buy into it. I like the idea of it. Last thing, I hate to take a little quote from our friends over at Bet Online and their Twitter handle, but someone reminded Kansas that it was March, and they fantastically ended up flopping against unranked TCU as the number 6 team in the nation. So Kansas kind of has always had these problems in March. What do you think of this loss?
That's going to hurt them definitely.
Yeah.
Like they were, you know, they survived a lot of the year, and I know that they just lost to Baylor over the weekend too.
Mm.
So that is what it is. But this TCU loss hurts more than anything else. Like I'll take the loss to Baylor with the seeding a little bit higher than them, but yeah, this is going to really hurt them, and they have to face the same TCU team in Kansas tomorrow night.
That should definitely be interesting.
Oh, I would give me Kansas by a million, but we'll see.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with giving Kansas by a million. People just disappeared in this game, right? Like their main guy Agbaji, he just
Yeah,
completely disappeared off the face of the earth in this game. Shot 4 for 17. He rebounded well, but shooting 4 for 17 against an unranked TCU squad, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right whatsoever. So should be interesting to see how Kansas ends up getting seeded after a loss like that. The good news about college basketball is that we get to watch a little bit of basketball during work today, right, Jared? Because we have the Big South tournament starting.
that is right. We have the Big South tournament starting today, and there's 3 games before we get some regular season action. We also have the first round of the Northeast Conference tournament. The Ohio Valley is today as well, and then we had Horizon League last night. We had the Atlantic Sun last night, and we also had Patriot League. So today is going to be, you get to watch a couple games during the day if you choose to, but tomorrow and Friday are some of the bigger days for these first round of conference championships.
Yep, should be fun to watch all this basketball. You know, we might not get baseball during the day quite yet, but at least we'll get some basketball during the day, and I can live with that at the very least. All right, Jared, let's get into NHL blind dogs and let's get out of here, man. I don't know how our blind dogs did yesterday. I actually have no clue. Do you have
You
any idea?
won. Yeah, you won. I
Yeah.
lost.
Let's go. So 1-1 for me since the newly made records. 0-2 for you, Jared. You need to pick one up here. So give me your guys. Who are you taking today as your blind underdog?
It's better just not even like I know what teams are decently good. It's probably
Hmm.
just better to throw that out the window now because I've picked
Yeah,
good
who
teams the
cares?
last couple nights, and
Just
it
just
just
pick.
hasn't.
Look, my ideal thing is just pick whoever's at home. Like that's what I key in on. If they're an underdog at home, all right, I can get behind them.
Oof. Okay. Well, I'll go with. I'll let you pick. I think I know who you're gonna pick, so I'll go somewhere else. But
Yeah.
give me the Rangers -101 against
There
the
you go.
Blues.
As close as you can get to even money. Hopefully you get one here, Jared. I'm hoping for you. But I'm taking the Kraken plus 150. Predators have to
Yeah.
travel. I can take, when you see they have to travel to the West Coast, I can buy into that. So Kraken plus 152. I'll take that. Shout out to our friends over at Bet Online, the people who sponsor this show. Keep the lights on over here. We greatly appreciate them. You can go sign up with Bet Online using the promo code that is put in the chat by the Nightbot. And thank y'all for hanging out with us today. Jared, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Not nothing over here. We're back. The Rumble's back for NBA today. So if you are interested in
Yeah,
winning a FanDuel voucher, we'll be hosting that free contest a little bit later today.
very nice. All right, let's get out of here. As always, my name is Joshua Reimer. Good morning and good skill.